This is a Newsbeat special report update. Mount St. Helens erupted today in its most violent blast yet, sending ash hundreds of miles, forcing the closure of 3 highways and flooding a river. According to an aerial observer, mud flows entered both forks of the Toutle River on the north flank of the volcano. Helens County Sheriff's Deputy Ben Vina says a 12-foot high wall of water was sweeping down the river. According to reports monitored on a University of Washington radio network, a Weyerhaeuser Company logging camp above Spirit Lake was destroyed. However, the company could not immediately confirm that report. The town of Toutle, about 30 miles west of the mountain, was being evacuated along with other low-lying areas. Interstate 5, a major north-south highway about 30 miles west of the volcano, was closed for an 8-mile stretch where it crossed the river. There were no immediate reports of injuries, although a member of a statewide ham radio link was reported missing in the Toutle area after reporting that he was leaving that area. Also, the whereabouts and safety of Harry Truman, the 84-year-old crusty old man who has refused to leave his Spirit Lake resort at the foot of the mountain, is also unknown at this time. U.S. Geological Survey spokesman Gerhard Werner in Vancouver, Washington, says the mountain is erupting from both its crater and the vent on the northwest slope of the mountain. There were persistent rumors of lava on the mountain, but Werner says by mid-morning none had been seen. Lightning was starting forest fires in the area, all in addition to the erupting activities. Yakima Valley law enforcement agencies report numerous minor accidents and stranded motorists due to the volcanic ash fallout in this area. Newsbeat reporter Ken Crockett talked with State Patrol Communications Supervisor Bill Richards.
Our recommendation at this time is if you don't have to travel, stay home. There's 5 roads at the present that are closed. SR 12 is closed at Natchez. Visibility in the local area is down to 100, 125 feet in places. The fallout is causing a white surface, which the traveling public can't see the lines to know exactly where they're going. Interstate 5 is closed in the Kelso area due to the possibility of flooding from flash floods. Mount Rainier National Park is closed, as well as SR 706 going into the park due to the fallout and the darkness. Interstate 82 has just been closed 4 miles south of Ellensburg due to the darkness and limited visibility. Sadis Pass is still open. They are reporting down there that it's a light haze at this time. Interstate 80 coming out of Portland, they still are advising that it's clear and travelable. We have this condition that you're witnessing here this morning all the way down to Kennewick now and into the Freda area, although Freda wasn't experiencing fallout as of a half hour ago. Spokane is clear. They are not witnessing any of the cloud at the report a half hour ago.
If somebody is stranded in between the, traveling, the best thing for them is just to pull over or to find a motel or someplace to sit it out.
We've had 3 or 4 in here this morning. We're wanting to know what they should do. My recommendation to them at the time is until we know more of what is occurring, that they'd be better for them to hole up, so to speak, get into a safe place and sit it out a while until the agencies and that can determine just how long and what's going to happen. Change in wind could mean a difference in what our situation will be. At the present, we have no word as to how long the condition is going to exist. We are, of course, by going outside, have quite a bit of fallout at this time. We had an earlier report, it's non-confirmed, that the fallout was approximately 1 inch an hour on the summit of White Pass.
Possibly because his vision was obscured by falling volcanic ash, a pilot of a small crop dusting plane crashed into one of the major Bonneville Power Administration lines. The pilot was killed and the plane destroyed when it crashed into the line 3 miles east of Teenaway, Washington, about 17 miles northwest of Ellensburg. Kittitas County Sheriff Bob Barrett says the area was darkened like an eclipse when the accident occurred about 9:22 this morning. That happened about an hour after the eruption at Mount St. Helens. Gene Tollefson of the Bonneville Power Administration says the 287,000 kilovolt line was carrying about 230,000 kilovolts when the accident occurred. He says the line was knocked down and power disrupted, but he said that since it is a light load time, power has been diverted. Barrett identified the dead pilot as Vernon Mitchell of Ellensburg. This has been a Newsbeat special report. We'll have more reports as more information becomes available. The Yakima County Emergency Services Department has set up a ham radio base in the county courthouse. Newsbeat reporter Ken Crockett talked with Acting Director Rick Cole.
We're primarily interested in coordinating any problems that it is creating for the county. If there are people that do have shelter problems, if there are people that, we want to be the information center here for these problems so that we can coordinate with the proper agencies to be able to help. So there are stranded people that they should stay in shelter and stay under cover. If this looks like a long-term thing and they do need, shelter, then we should know so we can contact the shelter people and coordinate for that purpose.
Is there
any other hazard problems? Certainly, we want to know, the problems that do exist here.
Is there a communication problem? People trying to reach other people?
Well, have you picked up a phone lately? The lines certainly are very busy, and certainly should stay off the phones unless it's absolutely necessary. Keep the traffic to a minimum. It's not the time to gossip with your neighbor. Keep the calls down so that the necessary calls can get through, and so that the people that can help in the emergencies.
Yakima City Manager Dick Zay says that there is no need to worry about the volcanic ash polluting the city's drinking water. He says the filtering system is working well and that the backup water supply deep wells are on standby and could be activated in an emergency situation. We've heard that same story goes for the Tri-Cities and Lewiston, whose water supplies are also in good shape at this point. Zay says that the Yakima City Hall will be closed tomorrow, and he urges all Yakima businesses to remain closed also to facilitate cleanup efforts. There will be no garbage collection service tomorrow, and no decision has yet been made as to whether the city transit system will be in operation. Yakima Valley College has also announced that it will be closed tomorrow as well. There has been some concern about the possible adverse health effects of breathing the volcanic ash fallout, but emergency physician Dr. Lee McFarland of St. Elizabeth Hospital says the dust is not dangerous.
Well, as I've been led to believe from the reports that I've heard, the particles themselves are really quite neutral in pH, so they're not much of a danger from either an acid or a basic irritation, but they are also quite large, so they don't get into the deep respiratory passages. They will be trapped when you breathe through your nose by the nasal hairs and the lining of the nose. If you breathe through your mouth, they'll be trapped usually in the back part of the throat or in the upper respiratory passage of the trachea. The best thing to do to avoid that is to just use a mask like you have. A cotton cloth, maybe moistened, will help to filter out some of this. But even if it does get back into your nose and throat, the biggest problem is one of irritation and cough. We've seen a number of patients this morning. The one that I'm working on here is an individual who had exactly that happen. She was outdoors and began to have some breathing difficulties and cough, basically due to irritation of the back part of the throat. Her previous history was one of asthma, but this had not aggravated her asthma. When I examined her lungs, they were perfectly clear.
Have you had many people coming in today complaining about breathing problems?
Yes, we've had probably a handful, maybe 10 or 12, who have had symptoms, but in each instance they've all been very high respiratory symptoms, and we've had no one of the hundreds of people in Yakima who do have asthma. We have had no one come in with an asthma attack yet today.
The Yakima County Sheriff's Office reports that all mountain passes are now closed, as is Interstate 82 between Yakima and Ellensburg. Other major highways in the valley have been alternately closed and reopened. Authorities say that officers will be posted on all routes which are closed, and motorists will not be allowed to pass under any circumstances. The Yakima Seventh-day Adventist Church has set up an emergency shelter in conjunction with the Yakima Red Cross. The church has space for up to 200 people at its gymnasium at 1206 Fruitvale Boulevard, with food and bedding provided by the Red Cross. Staff is currently on duty, and you can reach them by calling 248-2096. That number again was 248-2096 if you know someone who may be in need of this kind of shelter. And the State Patrol officials say that motorists should immediately change their air filters, oil filters, and the oil in their cars after the ash fallout has let up. The ash can cause damages to engine if they are operated for an extended length of time in the ash. This has been a Newsbeat special report. We now return to regular programming.